Why are you bouncing?
Are you going to debounce me? Oh, that was so good!
That was actually pretty good. I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of myself too. All right. So Ben, this is like our next operator thing.
You're at my desk. You're at my desk.
That's true. Yeah. I'm up in your business.
Usually we're miles apart.
We got stickers. These cute little stickers. Like they say, change the ratio. It's adorable.
Just put it like right up there. Like right up there. There we go.
There you go. She's pairing with us.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna do real world examples and use cases. And last time we did switch map, cat map, merge map, exhaust map, merge map, and expand. So what do you want to do?
Air handling operators.
Okay. So which one are we going to start with?
Well, the classic one everybody reaches for is catchError, and I think we can start with that. Let's use stackblitz. Can we use stackblitz for this? Is that cool?
Oh, okay. We can do that.
How
are you going to do that?
Well, let's see. Let me go here.
Oh, that's no fun.
Move this over a little bit.
All right.
Let me go here and
then you have to share a screen.
Share, of course.
Stackblitz.
All right.
Ooh, how come we don't do this when we're away from each other?
I don't know. We really should.
We're weird.
So stackblitz has an awesome little RxJS thing here. I need to update it because this actually isn't pointing at RxJS 6.4 now. It's still pointing at 6.3.3. But
oh no.
That's my fault.
It's your fault.
But we can just click that and go in and we get started with this nice little
make it
playground.
Bigger.
Yeah, let's make this a little bit bigger.
Okay, cool. We're good.
We don't really care what's going on up in this. We're more care about what's in console. But so
catchError.
Yeah.
So first off, give me the explanation of what catchError is.
So what catchError does is, there's three different signals that show up in RxJS, which are next, error, and complete, right? And usually this is the one that most people care about because this gives you values. And this one people interact with all the time, but they don't really like deal with it directly. And this one just tells you when you've ended successfully. Up there, successfully. But this one here, this comes up and people usually want to do something with this. This happens like when the observable ends with a problem. So this is like whatever's producing the value, like has some issue, whatever that may be. Like maybe there's a 500 error on your server or a 400 error trying to request something or whatever, and you have a problem in it. It comes back with an error, or maybe your WebSocket disconnects unexpectedly, or whatever you're doing. And so what people reach for to handle these errors is they reach for an operator called catchError. And what catchError does is it ignores these two things and just kind of forwards them along, but it listens to this.
Next and complete.
Yeah, it ignores next and complete, but it listens for an error. And when it gets an error, it maps it into a new observable and then just kind of replaces out the errored observable with the new one that it maps to.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So just the simplest version of this would be, I'm going to create an observable from scratch just so it's more apparent. I'm going to say my source is a new observable. Let's get a subscriber, and just in my subscriber, we'll just assume there is some sort of error, and we'll say error. New error, bad things, right? Some bad things happened inside of this observable. And when we source subscribe, have this clear the console every time. Here. It just like it immediately errors. Like this never gets hit because we don't even get a value. It never nexts, so it just errors. So it goes to our error handler, which by default rethrows, and we see this. Now, if I want to stop this from coming out, I can pipe this thing into catchError. Gives us the error.
Should you always have catchErrors on everything then? Like,
yes and no. I mean, it really depends on, like, a lot of things don't ever throw an error. Like, for example, user events, like you don't get errors from mouse movements. That's not possible. You don't even get completes from that. So there are things where it doesn't matter. So it doesn't like that it should be any. Oh, no, it's complaining that I'm not returning anything. Sorry. And I need to return a new observable of some sort. So here I'm going to return an observable of, no, it is okay. So what we see happened up here in the console is this pumps out the error bad things, which we can, if we were to examine that in a better way, we'd see that we saw an error with the message bad things. But then we change to this observable, and this is going to subscribe to it and send it out. So this flattens like the other operators we talked about, like merge map and switch map and concat map. It's a flattening operator, but instead of listening to values, it listens for errors.
Wait, so it just creates an observable of an error.
So no. So what we've got here is this is an observable of an error, because that's all it does is error. But what this does is it listens for any error that happens up here, and when it sees that error, it maps it to a new observable, which is then what you end up subscribing to.
So like,
so it kind of replaces it.
Well, okay, so let's go to like real world use cases. So give me a real world use case in which this is really useful.
Sure. Okay.
You don't have to type it in.
Hey. Welcome here.
We've got a visitor. It's
I guess you're working with Tracy. I was just gonna check in to see if you have stuff in progress or whatever.
Okay. Can I get back to you in just a little bit?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
That was a live Mishkoing. So Mishko is my boss, and I go to. All right. So if we have, let's just say like, fake get data, right? So let's just say that this is going to make some HTTP request, and it would return an observable of some value. And in this case, I'm just going to.
I think I like coming to your office and pairing with you better.
Yeah.
You're much more into the code.
So in this case, I just have this observable, and I'm just gonna give it some percentage chance. So I'm going to say like if math random is greater than, so it's 50-50 chance it's going to hit this branch of code. Then we'll say next data, right? And then we'll complete it. And then otherwise, we're going to say error. And the error here is simply bad luck, right? So this could be anything. This is just a big fake thing. But I mean, let's pretend that it's just going to get HTTP data. It's doing it completely synchronously because I don't have any delay in here or anything. But we're saying when you subscribe to this observable, get a random number between 0 and 1. If it happens to be more than 0.5, then congratulations, you get data and it completes. If you, otherwise, it's going to throw an error. And if I was to take that and put that in here as my source, see, fake get data, then is it saw error bad luck?
It's just all exceptions.
It's okay. But if I refresh this, oh, that time we got data, so it's fine. So this is getting a little bit more real world, but this is kind of like a microscopic view of what people end up doing for real. What people often end up doing is they'll have something like where maybe they'll put a button on here, and they'll say button get data, right? I'll give it an ID. Data button. It's always great to name your things button, by the way. And I'm going to go ahead and pull that in. Get data button. Get data button. All right. So this is my get data button, and I'm going to create like a stream of clicks, which comes from events, from event, get data button.
We need to import from event.
Yep. Good eye. So we've got that going. Let's see if I can make this just a little bit bigger. All right. And we're going to take our clicks, and I'm just going to scooch this down a little bit. And we'll say, yeah, I'll do it down here, or do it right here. I'll say clicks, and then I'm going to pipe that into a concat map, where here's my click event, but I don't really care what it is. I'm not really going to use it. And I'm going to say fake get data. So people are like, oh, every time I click this button, I want to go get some data, and I want to subscribe to it and log it out. Need to bring in concat map. So let me move this down a bit. Get rid of this stuff because I'm not really using it anymore. And back up to here. So I've got a stream of clicks. Whenever I get a click event, I'm mapping it to a new observable and then concatenating on, like we talked about in the last show that we did. And what it's going to do is subscribe to the result of get fake data. So every single time I click, I'm going to get new fake data. Now, I got an invalid event target. What did I do? I selected the wrong. Oh, that's fine. All right. So when I click this, right now I have a 50-50 chance. Oh, bad luck. Let's start it again. Oh, bad luck.
Lots of bad luck here.
Bad luck. Why don't I have good luck? Bad luck. Bad luck.
But wait, so it catches up. Oh,
I got data.
There you go. Finally.
But then the next time I click it, oh, bad luck. So we don't want to get in a situation where there's bad luck.
Mm-hmm.
And we could add an event handler on here to prevent the whole page from breaking if we wanted to, but that's not really the ideal. Like ideally, we would be able to, like, just as an example, I'll put an error handler in here. This is next. And error will be here. And we'll log it to console. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So now it won't at least break this part up here, but we'll get data, bad luck. But now look, it doesn't work anymore, even though I keep clicking it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason for this. And the reason is not super apparent unless you look at what observable does. If you have an observable and you get a subscriber, what observables really do is they kind of connect, when you subscribe to them, they connect a whole bunch of subscribers together. It takes your subscribe call, takes your callbacks, whatever you put in that, wraps in a subscriber, and then makes like a new map subscriber, and then subscribes to that. And the map subscriber subscribes to a filter subscriber, which subscribes to the original subscriber, or whatever. Chains them all together. And the subscriber has a property on it called closed. A lot of people don't know about this, but what closed is it's this Boolean, and if it's false, it's never going to become true again. And you cannot next error or complete through it again. And when a subscriber gets an error call, like error like this, or a complete call, then subscriber closed, this will be true after. Above it, it's false and it's fine, but below it, it's true. And this gets checked all over the place. So if I'm chaining a whole bunch of different operators together, in this case, I've got this from event, so I'm going to kind of just build a line here. So I would have like a next channel, and I've got these button clicks on my next channel. Mm-hmm. Every one of those O's is where I've clicked. Yeah, I've got this error channel, and actually, let's do this a different way. I've got an error channel. This is where I call next on my click stream. So this is like a clicks observer. This is where I call next or error on a clicks observer, which is never going to happen. So not really possible there. And complete, which again isn't something that can happen with clicks. So you're like button clicks can't complete. So I get this here. It's going to go along to my concat map, right? And what it's going to do is this is going to map into a brand new observable down here, which is our fake data observable. And it's got a next error and complete channel in it. This sucker here is going to map down to here and subscribe to it to send it back out to the next thing in the chain, which is your end subscriber. So we'll just do some dots there. And the end subscriber is like, you know, console log, whatever. This is your subscribe call. And what happens is if whatever's reading in here, and there's actually more than one observer. There's like an observer that really kind of looks like this. Because these flattening operators, what they do is they say, hey, I'm observing you. I'm going to create a new observer and subscribe to this internal observable over here, whatever it's mapping to. Get fake data, right? It returns an observable, and it subscribes to that with this other like inner observable here, and that forwards along to the next bit. And there's rules around this, like, hey, if I get an error at any point over here, then I need to forward that along to whoever's next. But when you get an error, the whole thing becomes closed. You can't do anything on any more of these channels. Like, it's impossible to call any of these, which means this is dead also. It means you can't get anything from up above it. Like
you lost the game.
The whole thing is dead.
It's like a video game.
So what you need to do is there's lines that are basically connecting here and here. And what you need to do is you need to prevent the error signal from ever getting back out to this chain. And the way that you can do that is by punctuating the inside of this with catchError. Because that's going to listen for an error, and when it gets an error,
and then it just passes it along the chain.
Yeah, when it gets an error, it's going to map to this and then this new observable and kind of take over. Everything after that will only get a signal from whatever this ends up mapping to. And I can say it's okay. Now, if I hit this.
But now you have an observable of what? When you catch error and you map to another observable, then you get an observable of?
You get an observable of whatever the source was or whatever the error response is. In this case,
because like it's like, okay, hey, map all these people. And, you know, that's actually kind of really interesting. It's almost like, hey, if, you know, like catchError, if Tracy logs in, then push her through another, like push her along another, like put her through like another system or something like that. It's like, you know, do all the right things unless Tracy logs on, and then stick her through this hellish code exercise that she doesn't want to do. Right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, in essence, what we're doing here is we're just saying, if there's any errors in this thing that we care about, I don't want you to forward them out to the outer chain here. I want you to give it this happy one instead, so it can continue. So now you can see whenever I hit this, if I have an error, it doesn't kill everything; it stays active.
Okay, but then give me more like so it's like use catchError when what?
When basically you use
Anytime.
you use catchError anytime you do not want an error to make it past a certain point. You can, of course, rethrow an error inside of catchError, but if you're saying, like, you know, here's some chain of whatever, and I've got you know, filter and then map and then, you know, delay and then a bunch of other operations. And I'm saying that, you know, before it gets to some tap and then some other map and whatever, like starting right here, I don't want like no errors past here. Then that is just catch error. Catch error, and if you return a happy observable, no errors will make it past this.
All right. So what are like?
There might be an error that happens after it. That's different.
Are there any other observables with error handling where people are like, oh, I'm going to use catch error, and you're like, no, you should use this instead of catch
Yeah. So another one might be that, well, look, I don't want to return, like in this case, we're returning like it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
What I really want to do is I want to keep trying to get the data.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't.
Oh, so you have retry when?
Yeah. Well, so the first one that I would reach for would probably be retry. So retry.
So there's catch error, retry when, and retry.
Yeah. So if I use retry,
Mm-hmm.
retry is another one where I can honestly say if I just call retry with no arguments, there cannot be any errors coming out of retry. There just can't.
It'll just keep repeating
It'll
itself.
keep retrying over and over again. So if I pull in retry and I put it here instead, now when I hit this, it'll just go until it gets data.
Okay, but give me like
Every single time. So like even if there's errors in there, it doesn't care.
But like give me like a real world example of when you would use retry or catch error.
So honestly, if you just imagine this get fake data as making an HTTP request,
Mm-hmm.
then that's totally the real world scenario that
Okay.
you would use. So like in the case of HTTP request, or maybe like a WebSocket stream or something like that, where there could be a problem because of network flakiness or
Mhm.
something like that. Yeah, I mean, I could even rename this to like fake.
I feel like if
HTTP
you
call.
did a retry, then you'd be like, you'd have to be like, we're retrying. So there's like not a pop-up, but maybe like a prompt that says, like,
Right, yeah.
hey, we're retrying again. Retry 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And for that, I mean, you could put something in here. You could do a tap, or you could use retryWhen. But like here, it's just I would just put like an error handler, and it'd be like, you know, error found. So now we'll be able to see in the log that there was a problem. I did not.
It like it runs like 10 times, and then it gives you the thing.
Yeah. So sometimes it'll be like, oh, there's an error found. Oh, there's 3.
Ooh, yeah.
So right.
Obviously, systems are not usually as fast as this one.
Yeah. Right. So because this is totally synchronous, but yeah. So you can do stuff like that. So retry is another one. Now there's another thing I can do.
Okay,
I can say like retry 3, and now it'll only retry 3 times. So if I hit this, oh, there, see, bad luck. It had 4 errors.
Oh, I didn't realize that was
Killed
the behavior. I thought when you use retry, it'll be like retry, and it'll be like
And now it's
error found 3 times,
Mhm.
and then it'll hit, like it'll only do it 3 times before it hits data. I didn't realize it would just like retry only 3 times. You like click it 3 times, and then all of a sudden it just sends everything down the train.
Right. And you can do, I mean, you can do different levels of retry too. Like, look, so I've got retry 3. Now this whole thing's dead. If I don't want the whole thing to be dead, I could just go down here and say retry, right? And now right above it, say tap error, console log. It looks like you're seeing a lot of errors.
Okay,
But so now watch. So this is, where did I get? I forgot my comma. So now if I have 3 errors here, it's gonna fall through to this next bit. I'm gonna log something, and then I'm gonna retry the whole thing again, and it'll start from scratch. So
okay, but
looks like I'm seeing a lot of errors, but it didn't kill everything.
But back up really quickly and give people like, what is your explanation of retry? What is retry?
So retry specifically, it does the same thing where it's listening to this error channel, and
So listens to error
yeah,
channels.
and basically what happens is when it gets an error signal, it just resubscribes to the original source. So it'll retry the original source. So the one place where this might confuse people is if you're using a subject or some sort of stateful observable. Like, it's not going to reset the state of that observable. It's just going to resubscribe to it. So the subject, if it's a subject, it might already be dead. Because if you error in a subject, it's closed as well because it's a subscriber. So
when do you use, do you like not use retry on subjects usually, or?
Yeah, retrying a subject wouldn't really work the way people would expect, probably, because once a subject has an error, it's errored. If you did like retry 3 on it, it would be like it would subscribe to the subject 3 more times, then eventually just emit the error.
So you use retry on any observables, just not subjects.
Cold observables is what you want. The any observable that creates its own data source. Yeah.
Okay. And then so what's the difference between using retry and retryWhen? When do you want to use either?
Okay.
Is retryWhen again the same thing where you don't want to use it on a subject?
RetryWhen is more when you want some sort of conditional logic about, like, A, under what circumstances do you want to retry, and B, when do you want the retry to happen? So what retryWhen does, and I'll bring that one in and we can play with it.
This reminds me of our first pairing session.
Yeah.
But much more interesting.
So I'm gonna eliminate this bit down here. I'll leave that in so we can see when we've got an error, and I'm gonna add in retryWhen. RetryWhen is this crazy operator. It's actually the first thing I ever added to RxJS, and it was in RxJS 2, I think. So what this does is this actually calls this setup function whenever you initially subscribe. So I'm just going to log that, setting up retrying. And what you're expected to do is you're expected to return a new observable that represents, you're expected to listen to this observable of errors and map it into a new observable that tells you when to retry or error or even complete. So if you next, it'll retry. If you error, it'll push an error out. And if you complete, it'll actually complete without an error.
Okay, so back up one more time. Give me explain retryWhen in like 2 or 3 sentences.
In 2 or 3 sentences?
Yeah.
RetryWhen is an operator that you want to use when you want total control over when and why you want to retry your observable. You can't really give a technical explanation of it in 2 sentences, probably. So the crux of it is it runs the setup function, which gives you an observable of any error that happens above this, right?
Do you create the setup function? Or?
Yeah, you have to write this part yourself.
Okay.
And what you're expected to do is listen for errors and have an observable, basically create an observable that listens for errors and next, like 1 time to say when the next retry should start. So if I say return errors, then in here, pipe to another concat map, or switch map is probably even better, actually. Yeah, bring in switch.
When are we going to get the whole import RxJS and be done with it and tree shake all the things?
I mean, that's basically what we're doing is making this more tree shakeable by doing this.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, why can't we just import RxJS?
Because most tree shakers just are not good at actually shaking that away.
Don't blame the tree shakers. Blame yourself, Ben.
I mean, technically, you could go up here and say star as RxJS.
Yeah, but is it going to shake all the things?
I don't work on any team that's responsible for tree shaking. You have to talk to like Rich Harris or somebody that works on Rollup or Webpack. Anyway, so we're in here and we've got this. At this point, we've received an error from the previous, and we need to return some sort of observable that, like in this case, I could tell it to wait a second by returning as a timer 100. Bring in timer. So I've got a timer and I'm saying, okay, well, if there's an error, just wait a second and then try again. So now if I run this, you see like as soon as it got an error, it said, oh, I got to set up for retrying. So it does that one time. And when it finds an error, it waits a second and then commits.
Ooh. Give me an example of when you would use this in the real world.
So I think I misspoke earlier too. Like the setup retrying, this gets called every single time because it only listens for one next emission to know whether or not to retry. So it can't keep that observable alive. So it's when it finds an error, it sets it up and then it stays active as more errors come in until it gets a signal that things have gone through. So when would I use this in the real world? This one might be something like a situation where it's like, oh, well, what if I want to handle this differently if someone is offline? So in here, I might say, if navigator online, if it's online, then return timer, like wait a second, try again. Otherwise, we can return from events documents online. And what this will do is it'll say, well, if you're not online, then just wait for one online event. And then the next time someone comes back online because their network connection pops back up, it'll retry.
So this reminds me of my shopping experience for the Dillard's New Year's Day sale, where I went to the website and they were like, just kidding. Our website is, you can't handle the load right now, but don't navigate away from this website because we'll let you in based on a queue. And I'm like, you guys are a load of crap. That's not true. So I kept refreshing and refreshing and refreshing. But this would be a good example of when you would use something like that.
Yeah, you could definitely use something like a retry when be like, oh, the error was you didn't get in.
Could you create like a little script or something like that? And just be like, if you're like trying to ping a page.
Incidentally, this is one of the typing bugs I've been trying to solve recently. We've solved a bunch of these, but if people hit this, then the problem is we're going from any to like, if you look at it, it's saying, oh, well, I can't assign observable number to observable input event. So it's getting out either observable number or observable input event. The solution for this is just to do observable number or observable, I think it's input event. What does this return? Event. Oh man, now what's it error about? Assignable to, it's hard to see because the screen is so tiny. Observable input event. Yeah, anyway.
You were solving problems for us, Ben.
I was trying to.
Where's the problems? Where's the solvings?
This is one of the more annoying things there. So this is more proper actually. This is what it should be returning. It's occasionally you'll hit this error where one of these mapping things will return two different types of observables. Like in this case, it's observable number and observable of events. The reality is we don't really care what this is returning. We just care that it returns something. So.
Okay, so I have another question.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have catchError, retry, and retryWhen. What other ones do people reach for?
For error handling, that's really it. There's something else. There's like hidden features, some of which I think one of which might end up getting deprecated, which is catchError actually gives you a second argument that is the caught observable, that if you return it, it basically behaves like a retry. So it returns like the observable with the catchError still on it kind of thing. That one's kind of weird. I don't recommend using that. There's some weird edge cases where it causes problems or memory leaks, I believe. But that's really it. There's like related functionality for the completion channel. So the same thing that you can do with retrying on the error channel, you can do with repeating on the complete channel. So that's similar, but it's not quite as universally useful as the error handling operators. It can be repeat in particular, but retryWhen is it's a bit dubious how useful retryWhen is.
That reminds me of Pete and repeat.
They're sitting in a boat.
Did they?
Yeah, and when Pete pushed
Pete
repeat
fell
off.
off.
Yeah, Pete fell off, and then who was left?
Repeat.
Pete and repeat were sitting in a boat. Yeah. I was think that's because I was a kid.
Really? Your kids don't do that to you?
No, they have not. They haven't discovered that one yet.
What did we forget to tell people about error handling? I mean, yeah. Anything we forgot to tell people?
No, I mean, the biggest thing is remembering the idea that if there's an error at any point in your observable chain, everything above it dies. The best
everything below it.
Everything. Well, so when I say above, I mean the source. When I say below, I mean the subscriber. Right. So everything upstream.
Oh, I see. Everything above it dies, and you can't travel down.
Yeah. So anytime there's an error, it's basically a dam in your stream, and you cannot get the stream through anymore. It's done. Everything above it just shuts down, and everything below it then gets this cascading effect of I get an error, and then you get an error, and then you get an error, and they all shut down on the way down. And so the way to stop that is to put some sort of error handling operator there, and it will prevent that from making it through.
Do you want to hear something really terrible?
Yes.
Okay. So like I've been watching a lot of Good Doctor, and when you say there's like a block in the stream, I think of like, oh well, you have to like untwist the bowels or get an enema. So can we create an operator called like enema instead?
There's a television show where they talk about untwisting bowels and enemas.
Well, it's like a doctor show. So there's like, like, oh my God, my whatever hurts. And they have to like untwist the bowel.
It's not like House where they have to go like investigate, and it's always some crazy source of like Legionnaire's disease or something weird.
No, it's less complicated than that.
Okay.
But can we create one called enema? Like an operator?
The enema operator?
Yeah.
It just flushes all the poo out.
Would that be good? Come on. That's like such a proper name for an operator.
So good.
Do you agree though?
Yes.
Okay, so when are we creating enema? It'll be my first. It'll be my first.
Your first
contribution.
The enema operator?
To RxJS, the enema operator.
I don't know.
So also I have another question.
Yeah.
Why are you so obsessed with error handling today? Why? What? Like, why?
It was a good topic to talk about because it's kind of the next thing after. A lot of people don't understand it.
Error handling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give a talk at NGConf about error handling. I'll message Joe Eames right now, just be like, "Hey."
By the way, we're giving a talk about error handling.
You want us to give a talk about error handling?
Maybe. I don't even know. My understanding is there's a lot of RX talks at NGConf this year, so I don't even know what they're all about. And I was waiting to make sure I didn't step on anybody's toes.
Oh, are you giving a talk at NGConf?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sad.
Do I have hair sticking out?
Can I give a talk with you?
What do you do?
We're doing RX workshop together anyways. I don't actually want to give a talk with you. Can I give a little bit of a talk with you? Can I just talk about diversity?
Yes.
Can I be like...
I don't think I would be a good person to talk about that. I'm inherently not diverse. It's just not. I support it, but I don't help it at all. Everyone's diverse.
You're diverse. You have glasses.
I don't. Not in this podcast.
That's true. Except. Okay, that was fun. Nobody watched because we didn't tell anybody.
Yeah. Surprise.
Doesn't that kind of make you sad? Nobody watched
that
us.
We live streamed.
Okay, let's take a selfie first. Wait, can we take a selfie by our people? Okay, let's do that. Here.
Like the back of our heads?
Yeah, look.
Okay, good.
All right, you can turn it off now. Oh, no, that was a bad picture. Let's do it again.
This just went blurry.
One more. Wait, what? Okay, really cute in there.
All right.
Press stop.
Bye.